All right, so it is 7:02, so I guess we'll start the meeting. I think we're recording, yes, anyway, so all of our jabbers been recorded. So welcome to the Hamilton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, December 4th, 2024. We have not a whole lot going on. We have two meeting minutes to approve and, well, three, but that was from this last month, which nothing is going on. Then I wanted to discuss something, but we also have our new town planning director with us, Mark Connors. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you, from what I understand, you will not be in our meetings, or will you be each month?
It depends. I think if you have applications and can be helpful, it can certainly pop on for these kind of brief meetings where you're not kind of doing administrative things. Probably not.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure because I know your role's a little bit different than Patrick's was. So,
Yep. But we're certainly here to assist. So if it's helpful to have me, I'm happy to hop on.
yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, we're psyched to have you. Should be good. We're a great group.
Okay.
At least that's what Patrick said when we left. So anyways, so for this evening, we have meeting minutes to approve from September 4th, October 2nd, and November 6th. The October 2nd and November 6th were just continuations of the September 4th. So all of you guys are on tonight. You if you've read them and you're okay and they're all good, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve them.
I motion to approve the minutes from September 4th.
Yes.
Andy Phillips, second.
Okay. So those will be approved, and that's all the business we have. So approve those. But one thing I wanted to talk about a bit, and maybe not even talk about it, but kind of get the mind going on a little bit, is the new ADU law that's coming up. It's going to be active February 2nd. And there's some by right things of you're allowed to build a separate structure on the property of 900 square feet, and some other things that kind of the government guideline, but we have our own bylaws which will still be enforced. My concern is that as these start maybe happening more, is because it can be a separate unit detached from the main house. Mm-hmm. What are our parameters for controlling the size of it? Because I can, the last meeting, actually, I think it was the September 4th meeting, when I wasn't here for that one, but one came through and there's a lot of extra stuff added to the structure and makes it really big, and it was nice, it was beautifully designed and all that, but I think we need to kind of create some guidelines somehow to just control it. My fears are you get 900 square feet of living space, which is air controlled space, but you might be able to throw in 400 square feet of unconditioned space, porches, 3-season rooms, and all of a sudden you have a very big structure on a property that can handle it, but the neighbors might not like it if it just becomes too much. So I don't know if we also have the septic. It has to go into the same septic system, I believe. So the septic has to be approved. The electrical feeds should be coming off the main house, not have its own services, because it's an accessory building. Yep. And then the garage, does a garage attached to it? Is that because it's unfinished, or even if it's unfinished or unconditioned, all of a sudden your house the structure's twice as big.
Yeah. So that one in particular did have a garage attached to it, and it was clear in the bylaw that non-livable space didn't count toward the square footage requirement. But for instance, if somebody had a detached garage and they wanted to put an in-law apartment above it, we can't say no because there's all this garage space below it in an unattached garage, right? What I think we need is some clarity in the bylaw itself around what can and cannot be considered, right? For instance, we could make the assumption that the point of the Hamilton zoning bylaw is to prohibit ADUs that look like houses. It doesn't say that anywhere, but we can assume that. It would be good if it said it somewhere, and in which case that would be sort of one of the parameters, right? That if somebody wanted to build an accessory dwelling unit and from scratch basically on the property, that the building would have to look like a outbuilding as opposed to looking like a guest house on the property, right?
Right.
Just use that as an example of one of the ways in which we could create more clarity around this. But I think it should be in the bylaw itself, which is, like, we have to conform to what's in the bylaw. If we want anything beyond that, it probably should be in the bylaw.
That's going to require town votes
Yes.
and
Well, absolutely, it's a
This-
zoning board.
zoning
I
board's
mean, excuse me,
definitely
it's a
gonna
planning
take that.
board issue.
It's a planning board issue, so it's good that Mark's here with us. But it's, what I would like to do is, come up with ideas. You guys can write them down or whatever, and then we can present them to the town or to Mark, and, say this is what we see, what some of our concerns are when these things start happening. How do we control it so it doesn't get out of hand? My thought was you have 900 square feet of living space.
Yeah.
You can have 20% of that, whatever that is, 200 square feet of additional enclosed space that is not living, just
Yeah.
as an idea.
Yeah,
So
well,
that then you can have a porch, you can put a little garage in or a little storage space, but it just
Yeah.
sort of helps to control the sprawl of the design.
yeah, ours was
I mean-
based off of the fact they did not have an additional, like, what was it? They did not have an additional accessory dwelling on the property, and that's what the garage was being utilized under. Wasn't it something along that, Steve?
Yeah, they had no accessory, not an accessory dwelling, but they had
Or,
no accessory
shed or
buildings
anything.
of any
Yeah,
kind
no accessory
on the
buildings, right.
property. So they could have come before us and asked for a big barn, right? They wouldn't even need to come before us, I believe. They can just go to the if they get a permit from the building commissioner to build a barn, as long as it isn't violating the setbacks, they don't have to come to us for it. They could
No.
build a 1,200 square foot barn, a 2,000 square foot barn, and then put a 900 square foot ADU inside of it 6 months later,
Yes.
and end
So-
up with the same exact thing that we approved on September 4th.
Yeah, I think we're gonna enter choppy waters on this one if we try, because if it gets to us, I mean, I don't think it'll get to us with the laws passing. I think the zoning board will just start saying, "Yep, this is okay. Yep, that's what the law says." I think it'll only get to us if there's conflict with the setbacks or the non-conforming structures that we usually get.
Or what I will say is neighbors, right? So if
Or
we
neighbors.
That's
get
another factor, yes.
2 or 3 neighbors who do not want it, we can absolutely say, so first of all, there's 2 things. We have latitude. We do have broad latitude over keeping in the spirit of the neighborhood, right? Keeping within the design of the neighborhood within, so that it doesn't look like it's out of place. So we can use that. We can use broad latitude on that. And we also can have broad latitude when it comes to community disagreement, right? So if there are a number of people, if the whole neighborhood, or even just 2 or 3 people in the neighborhood come to a meeting and say, we don't like this thing, that's more than enough.
But the thing is, if they are within the guidelines in the state law now, they are by right can do it. As
That's
long
true.
as they're
That's
not,
true.
you know,
Yep.
as long as they're not tripping the bylaws.
Yep.
And that's where I kind of want to be able to have a little bit more control on that somehow, if we can. I don't know if we can.
Well, I don't think we do up until a point, right? What I'm unclear on is if at what point does the building commissioner look at a plan and say, this is not in keeping, this goes beyond the scope of what the state law allows, and it triggers a zoning board of appeals review,
Right.
right? I think that's one thing that we need to figure out what that is, and then we can draw some guidelines around that, right? And I don't know if there are ways in which our bylaw can not override, but kind of create adjacent parameters, right? Like the example I used before, right? It can't look like a guest house. It has to look like an accessory unit or an accessory structure in order to be approved. I don't personally don't know if that passes. That's maybe a question for KP Law, right? I don't know if that passes muster with the state law.
Yeah, and it does, become a little bit how you see it, how you see the design, is it?
Well, that's what we're here for, right? We're the
Yeah,
judges of
yeah,
whether it's a guest house or whether it looks like a guest house or whether it looks like an accessory
yeah.
structure.
The planning board has been talking about the need to update the ordinance because obviously now it conflicts with the new state law because it requires the special permit. So it is a chance to kind of look at the whole section of the bylaw and update it. We were waiting on the state because the state says it's going to issue regulations for ADUs that towns have to follow. But unfortunately, they're not in a big hurry to do that. So I think we're going to have to update the town's bylaw probably without the benefit of that because it's not looking like it's going to come anytime soon.
Have we seen, do you guys have access to what the state is proposing that we could work off of?
They've issued some guidelines, but they're saying that they're issue regulations, but it's not going to be in time for February. And I think we're aiming to have something at least for the spring town meeting, because even if we do April, there's still going to be kind of a little gap there between February and April. I think it's short enough of a gap that I don't think it'll cause too many hiccups. But I did work in New Hampshire before. New Hampshire has kind of a similar ADU law where you have to allow ADUs. And it worked for the most part, worked pretty well. I'd say that the issues you run into are garages. So if there's a garage already on the property and you build the second garage with ADU, it sort of creates that impression of the second house where you're trying to avoid that. You want it to look accessory. So
Yeah.
we passed a zoning change where you can't have, if you already have a garage, you can't have a second garage for the ADU or a pool or things like that that are, kind of larger scale.
Yeah.
It can't be in the front yard. It has to be in the backyard or the side yard, things like that. So
Yeah, I'm not sure we don't have that in our bylaw either, because this September 4th one was in the side yard.
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I'm definitely with Bruce on they got to tie their power into the existing house, can't have its own. Their water should probably be tied in also. The septic has to meet the criteria if you're going to put, if it's, two parents, septic better meet muster, because you're not going to get to do a new septic system because now it's a separate system altogether. The garage one's definitely a good idea, but again, we still run into well, if they don't have, a shed or something, they're gonna just make it anyway. So then do we play the cat and mouse game with people? So that would definitely have to be very clear language that is like a garage is considered where you put your vehicle, or any vehicle for that matter. Yeah, I mean, no, I would say no. Obviously, no digging of where would we go with like concrete slabs? Because I know a lot of these ADUs you can put them on raised platforms, so you're not actually even putting down a concrete slab. That becomes a question also, because then if the parents pass away, you can then just remove the structure immediately. So do we bring
You
that?
you're saying you want to encourage making them more transient?
Yeah. So, you know,
It's a
because
lot.
you'll see,
It's a high cost for doing that, to build a whole structure and then wipe it
well, that's what
away.
I'm saying is that if the people, if it's truly a, in-law apartment, and let's say your in-laws are in their 70s, and it's a really nice one,
Uh-oh, you froze.
I mean, I'm looking at the
apartment
Massachusetts this. Oh, Dave, we missed most of what you said. You froze there
that
for
are,
a second.
so what do we do when we get to that point where, okay, the in-laws have passed away, and now we have this apartment. Now what are they doing with the apartment? Do we fall under the fact that we have a housing crisis at that point? Is that going to become a rental property? Should it have to be
Well,
removed?
that's what it becomes, is because the ADU.
Yeah.
It's by right, they can just rent it out. We don't have any say on how that's used. I mean, we have in the
Well,
past, where they did the accessory dwelling, and then we were supposed to go check it every couple of years or every year to see that it's still being used as the in-law. And then once they move on, you come in, you pull out the kitchen, and that space becomes part of the house again. But
well,
that
this
section of the bylaws gonna go away now.
yeah, the state law overrides that, and in fact, our bylaw doesn't even say that. Our bylaw doesn't say anything about family. It says providing reasonable rental properties to like older homeowners who want to stay in their home. They can build an accessory dwelling so they get some rental income.
Right.
In fact, that was one of the problems. That was probably one of the strongest arguments in our September 4th meeting, was that it doesn't say anything about having in-laws stay there, that they weren't meeting the criteria of the bylaw because they weren't using it as a income property.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that's what we're gonna be hit with then. I mean, I totally agree with what Bruce is proposing, but the law is going to supersede any decision we try in controlling this, and then we're gonna be hitting that wall. Like Steve, as you said, we can keep to the conforming the appearance of the town and making it look nice, but until we
Yeah.
have proper guidance, you know we could say one thing and then the state could say another, and then we're all going to be back in this spot, and then the town's going to be dealing with it.
Yeah.
Well, I think
So
sorry, I think if we did something like a percentage above and beyond the 900 square feet of
Yeah,
yeah,
different space, however you'd like to use it,
it looks like the state law does allow us to impose overall size restrictions. That's what it looks like just from my reading. But again, this isn't something we can solve by ourselves, right? We need to work with the planning board, and we also need the
yeah.
help, I think, of town council to strip. But I do agree with you, Bruce. We could brainstorm some ideas, having some experience encountering these things that we can bring
like
to
I could
those folks to
argue,
work
I
with.
could see someone saying a carport, but not an enclosed garage, like just a cover for the car. Because if you're elderly, you got to walk out to your car. If it's covered in snow or ice, you got
Yeah.
that. So if it's a
But
car,
again, Dave, that brings up the problem. If there's not already a garage on the property and you have a right to a garage and you have a right to ADU, there's nothing that says they can't be in the same structure.
yeah. Well,
Right.
that's what I'm saying. If we're talking ADU, that say there's a garage already, if they want to do like an overhang carport, not a full on garage, just an overhang, like that's not something I'd be opposed to, because you're just putting basically a larger roof over the area. It's not enclosed. It's not.
Well, that can be a ZBA decision. You look
Yeah,
at it and see how it looks. Um, maybe there's a statement in there that says, if you have a two-car garage, you can't add another garage onto the ADU. And
yeah,
this is if it's a separate dwelling, free
yeah.
from the
See, like I would back you on that moving forward, if if they don't have the argument for the shed or whatever, because that's going to come up every time now.
Garage spaces are regulated by a different part of the bylaw too. I
Yeah.
forget what it is. I can't remember if it's 2 or if it's 3, but there's a definite cap. And if you want more, you have to come to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, I think it's
All
3.
right, so we could, so I think that would be our brainstorming. We get with the zoning board, we figure out where we can intersect to prevent it from getting out of control.
Yeah.
Bruce, have you talked to anyone in Wenham, as we're 2 different zoning boards, about this as well?
I have not. No, it'd be a good idea to do that. Let's see what they're.
And maybe we should all just get a sit down with both sections, because
Or individually? It gets complicated.
Yeah.
Also, Manchester's a good neighboring town as well.
we'd have to make sure we're
Yeah.
not violating open meeting laws if we all met though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's
No,
my
it'd
comment.
just be more kind of. What are you
It
doing?
could just be you
Yeah.
chatting with the chairs, Bruce. of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
zoning boards.
Just to see, what their thoughts are, because they're probably in the same boat we are.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
trying to figure it out before it becomes law.
Oh, Mark, you're coming on board right when the fun starts.
Yeah,
He's got a lot of fun ahead of him.
Hey, he's lucky this isn't the start of like a 40B project or something.
Oh, 3A.
This
Three
isn't
A.
so bad
3A.
just because every other town is kind of dealing with it, so you can sort of, like you guys were saying, and I think Middleton is having a special town meeting this month to talk about both ADUs and the 3A zoning. So
Mhm.
I should say a contentious 40B project. Regular 40B project on its own, wonderful.
mhm.
Particularly the contentious ones. You're lucky it's not one of the contentious ones.
Who knows?
Oh.
It could come back.
Yeah, I'm on your side though, Bruce. I mean, it's definitely something we got to look at. It's definitely something we got to be prepared for, and
Just any ideas, write them down, send them off. We can kind of create a list and say this is what we see as a problem. Then the planning board can address it however they, deem necessary.
luckily we have a
couple
really
of-
good planning board.
Bruce, is Rosemary our,
Oh yeah, she's our liaison.
would it be an interesting conversation for you to chat with her?
Yeah,
Or one of
that
us
would
to
be.
chat with her on what her thoughts and potential overall board thoughts could be?
Yeah, no, I definitely could do that, and obviously can talk to Mark too, and
And the planning board has been talking about it, Bruce, so I can, the next time it's on the agenda, I can invite someone from the ZBA to be there, or you could even do like a joint meeting if you wanted to.
yeah, that'd be good. I'd show up for that.
Okay.
Okay, so that's our homework for the month. Well, actually, we probably won't have a meeting next month. We don't have anything on the docket for us, so I hope we won't have meeting minutes to approve for this meeting, since we didn't have any projects in front of us. So, I guess what would be good is just to write down some ideas and send them to me, and then I can package them all together and send them off to the planning department and go from there. And if we want to meet next month, we could do that. I don't know if we can do that now, because I think we have a whole month. We'd have to meet the next month, January, discuss it further if we wanted to. See what we come up with this month.
It probably won't be until January at least anyway.
Oh, not January, February. 'Cause
February, okay.
we're a month now, almost a month between any project submittals to the ZBA and actually being able to be in front of the ZBA. That's the
Okay.
application deadline, put it that way. Yeah, so anybody else have anything else to say? Or comment?
Motion to adjourn.
I second the motion.
I like it. All right.
Roll call vote. Stephen DeRocher, aye.
Andy Phillip, aye.
Bruce Gingrich, aye.
Meeting adjourned.
All right.
See you
See y'all
guys.
next time.
Good.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye
See
now.
you all.